Hi folks, you're with Taskless today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, radio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you're driving along in your car, as you would a radio broadcast, or in your truck, or sticking those earbuds on public transport. In this essay, I'd like to talk about an event that I've sort of witnessed just recently, and it encapsulates the gender warfare, the Western world gender warfare that's ginned up, invented, imagined, and aggressively pushed by the globalist controlled media, academia, and so on. So we're talking about the forefront of gender warfare, misogyny, patriarchy, straight white male neo-Nazis. We're talking about the whole thing. Now it's invented, it's imagined, and but it's a fantasy. But that doesn't mean that the people caught up in that activism don't want to imagine that it's real. It's an imaginary world where they are victims surrounded by evil Nazis, and they kind of like that. They get off on it, and so they perceive the world in that way. So I've seen something where that entire gender conflict exchange or ideology I saw unfolding in real time in a real exchange between human beings just recently. So because it was so neatly packaged up, I thought, I'll do a video on this. So that's what it is. Now, I need to give a little bit of background information. This all took place in the office of a veterinary practice. And now I was there because one of our neighbours has she's an elderly lady, and she's got a little dog, and that little dog's all she's got. She's got nothing else. Her husband died a long time ago, and that little dog's so precious and important to her. And she wanted to go to the vet, but didn't want to, drive and have the dog rolling around the back or something. So she said, would I come with us? Look, I'm going down, into the town, so I'll drive you there, and so you can hold the dog. So that's it. So we go in there, but there's someone ahead of us, and it's a guy, and and this is now the thing. So a woman comes out. She'd be, I don't know, 5'4", 5'5", medium build, sort of red to brown hair, freckles, quite unattractive, and I guess about 30 would be my take. So she comes out from this veterinary practice, like she comes out from the back room or wherever, and this guy is in front, and he explains that he tells her in quite detail. I mean, I picked everything up, that he's a volunteer for injured wildlife. By the way, as my wife and I are, I don't know that guy, but so I assume he's part of that community. But so he says he's got injured wildlife, he's got an injured critter. And he sent emails and photographs in yesterday of the critter, and he's called, and they said someone get back to him. He's heard nothing, so he's coming in now just to follow it up to see if there's someone he can talk to. Should he send the email again? If so, to who? And so he's been quite reasonable and quite thorough. Remember, he's a volunteer in his own time, so. Now it became apparent quite immediately as soon as this woman, the veterinary woman, who I don't think is a vet, I think she's just like an administration officer of some sort. When she came out, her eyes went on to him, and you could see at that moment, or I could see, that she decided that this was an opportunity for gender conflict. This was the fault line. This was it. Here was an opportunity for her to establish her moral superiority, and to hopefully he would maybe attack her, and then she'd be like a super victim, and just think of all the attention her fellow lesbians would give her, and that sort of stuff. So you could see that it's written on the tilt of the head, the eyes, the look, and she's at conflict. So you could see that straight away, or I could anyway. You could see that straight away. And I've dealt with people like this before. So this guy obviously has a lot less experience at this side of things than I do. So I didn't say anything. I'm just watching here, thinking, I want to see how this unfolds. And so she immediately just pretends she hasn't heard him, doesn't know what he's talking about. That's so he explains it again. He goes over it again. Then she claims that he's well. Before that, she then as he's explaining for the second time, she goes over and quite dramatically locks a little gate that's maybe 2 or 3 foot high. It's to stop animals from running around, you know. So she very dramatically locks that gate as if it's like, I'm protecting myself against the Nazis. So she locks the gate. Then she pulls over a wire mesh thing that I assume they put critters in or something while they're treating them, and then she puts that there as if she's defending. So, I mean, she is so threatened at this point. She is so threatened that she has to take these measures, and they're dramatic. They're girly playing little doll's house type attitude games. So he hasn't noticed any of this. I have. He's still talking about, you know, what he's there for. So he mentions, you know, he's gone over it again, and so she's not listening to what he's saying. So she says, "Oh, well, you should send an email and explain it all." And he says, "Well, I've already said that twice. You know, I've sent an email in, and I've done this, I've done that." So he explains it all again. He's probably getting a little bit irritated at this point because he's now going over it for a third time. Anybody would get irritated. So I can see she sees this. Good, I'm getting under his skin. You know, I'm annoying him. My moral supremacy is increasing the more irritated he gets, and I can see that interplay going on. Then she accuses him, just out of the blue. She accuses him of, "You're standing over me and intimidating me," and he was quite, "What? What are you talking about?" was his response. How? You know, and "You're standing over me," she says again, and he says, "There's got to be 2 meters, you know, distance between us. You know, how can that be standing over you?" "You're oppressing me," she says, and comes out with that. Then while she's shouting at him, by the way, she then says, "You're shouting at me." She's shouting at him. He's not shouting. She's shouting at him. "You're shouting at me." He says, "No, he's not shouting." Now already he's denying things. She's falsely accusing him of things. He's denying it. She's already got, if you like, the upper hand here. She's got him denying things. Which is, I think, the purpose of it. And given how well oiled and how she was timing each accusation, that she's been through this not only once before but many times before, would be my take on it. So he tries to explain again. This is now like the 4th or 5th time. She again pretends to misunderstand or not know what he's talking about, and just says, "No, you have to do this, have to do that." And he says, "No, I've already been through that." "Oh, but you haven't told me before." And what's that got to do with anything? And again, you know, he's a guy now. Just how threatening was this guy? She then adds, she says, "You have to understand, you're a very, very tall man, and you're standing over me and intimidating me." And she says it like a little girlie who's about to burst out in tears. And again, you can see the bewilderment on his face. "What are you talking about?" type look. So he's done none of those things. Now, this very, very tall man, let's just have a look at this. I'm 6'2", okay, and I reckon he'd be 5'11", maybe 6 foot tops. So this very, very tall man's crap. You know, that's absolute utter nonsense. So the idea that he's standing over, again, he's 2 meters plus distance from her. He's not standing over her at all. That's an absolute lie. But she's doing, "You standing over me." It was this sort of thing. So I'm watching all this. I think if she does anything and threatens to call the police, whatever, I'm staying here as a witness, and I'm going to make sure this guy knows that I'll be a witness in court, and we'll go after that crazy bipolar disorder woman. Anyway, he. Yeah, you can see his confusion. You know, you kind of, why aren't you just dealing with the issue? Why aren't you trying to, I'm a volunteer trying to help an injured native animal, which is, what the volunteer organisation I'm associated with does. Why aren't you trying to help me? Was his sort of approach. Her attitude was, no, don't have to do anything, and deny it, refute it, and then again, pretend that. No, I just want to sort of go over how threatening this guy was. I reckon this guy would be about 70 years old, would be my take. Now he's got a slight droop down one side of his face, so my estimation there is that he's had a stroke and didn't fully recover from it. It wasn't obvious in the way he moved, but we're talking about a 70-year-old here. He's a straight white male. I had a wedding ring anyway. He's a straight white male. So exactly how intimidating was this guy? I mean, here's a woman of 30, and here's a 70-year-old guy who's had a stroke, and he's just asking for help. He's not doing anything more than that. I mean, he is a volunteer for this group and so on. It's the same group that my wife and I volunteers for. Again, I don't know who this guy is, or at least I haven't seen him before. So the whole thing. So he's at a point of particular exasperation. So I'm thinking I'm just about to intervene here, because if he gets annoyed to the point where he gets angry, then she's won. She is now 100% victim, and he is 100% oppressor if he gets angry. Well, she can play this game. Now, it's a premeditated game. I would argue a premeditated game of entrapment. Her intention was to provoke him, to everything she could to provoke him, just because he's a straight white male and she can claim victimhood and indulge her crazy feminist lesbian fantasies. Now, she's got a couple of badges on her lapel, badges that I know. One is she's a rape crisis center counselor, and the other one is she's belongs to a lesbian group, like a lesbian counseling group, like LGBTQ type, but this one's for lesbians. So she's obviously in the total thick of the ideological fanaticism around this. All straight white males are Hitler, all straight males are Nazi, oppressor, misogyny, patriarchy. She's right in the middle of that, and so this she saw as an opportunity to do it. Now, to indulge and bask in that fantasy. But it goes to, and I just want to sort of use this to illustrate the attitude that these people, like this woman, they're all over in public prosecutors' departments, they're all over sociology departments, social workers, rape crisis. They're all across these things. These people are especially selected. Now, I would bet money this woman has bipolar disorder. I would bet money on it. Because whenever you're shouting at someone, but you say that they're shouting at you, to me that's something I've observed in bipolar people all the time. That whatever they do, they're accusing you of doing straight away. So they'll scream at you top of their voice, but then say it's you that's screaming at them. I've noticed this with bipolar people just all the time. So anyway, this is the interchange. So. And I was going to jump in. I thought if he's going to sort of get angry, and he probably wasn't that far off it, because she was constantly like scratching at him and baiting him and pushing it. So I thought I'm going to have to jump in to stop him from doing it, because he's not going to do himself any good service. But realizing that he wasn't getting anywhere, he sort of threw his hands up in the air and just walked out. Just as he's going out the door, she shouts after him and says, "I'm not being unreasonable, you are." Now, remember that when you look at, say, rape cases coming to trial, and you sort of wonder, well, wow, why would they bring this rape case to trial? There's no evidence. There's no physical evidence. There's no witnesses. There's nothing here. It's just a straight out he said, she said. There's not even good evidence that he was even there on the time. So why are they bringing this case? Because it's people like her, people like that woman, that are sitting around the table saying, well, watch it. No, we should go ahead and prosecute this, not because there's evidence, not because we've got the facts, not because even a rape took place, because by taking it to court at taxpayers' expense, by taking it to court, we're fighting the patriarchy. We're fighting back. We're fighting back against the patriarchy, against misogyny, against Hitler. And this is the attitude they have. And this is why, whether it be in academia or elsewhere, these sort of people are the ones who are making the decisions. So it's like they're deliberately picking people with bipolar disorder and saying, hey, we'll put you in these positions of power and authority to wreak all sorts of havoc. But to do that, they break the rules and engage in ridiculous misbehavior. All this woman in vet had to do is, you send an email. Well, let me look the email up and I'll send it on to someone. That's all she had to do. That was it. The matter would have been dealt with. That's all the guy came in to get. But no, she had to turn into drama and saw the opportunity. Here's the perfect opportunity for me to create a drama. Gender fault lines, fighting the patriarchy, and it's very, very sad because there's a lot of these people around now, and they're being handpicked, I would argue, for these roles. Now, I should add, it's just to close it here, that in the animal care industry, like gender studies types, and particularly lesbians, flock to this animal care industry. It's like the ultimate victimhood, and they can fight back against victims, that sort of stuff. And so they're drawn to it along ideological lines, they're drawn to it. My wife and I aren't lesbian, by the way, but we we take the view that native wildlife is important and should be looked out for. Like ordinary animals that people own can go to a vet, but these critters can't. So we like to play a volunteer role in sort of helping them out. But we've been to a couple of the gatherings, if you like, of the volunteers, and the not so much gay guys, but lesbians are heavily overrepresented. We were staggered at just how many lesbians there were at these things. We couldn't imagine that there would have been. Well, I mean, why are lesbians attracted to this per se? But they are, and I don't know how much work they actually do, or whether they're just virtue signaling. I've noticed sort of just when it comes to work, they don't seem to really want to do too much. They say that they're too busy or this or that and so on. So I think it's probably more of a virtue signal than actually doing and helping. But for some reason, when it comes to animal care and so on, lesbians are overwhelmingly attracted to it. And I think other things too is that in studying veterinary medicine, there's many dispensations that are made for women who want to get into it. Lowering the bar and all this sort of stuff, and a lot of those are lesbians. So I think that's also part of the game. You've been with Tastus today. You're Pushback Channel. Thank you for listening.